Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Game Week 27. My name is Joe and today we'll be looking to see who is due a goal or assist using Fantasy Football Scout's trusty goals and assists imminent tables. As usual, I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor Tom Freeman. Welcome, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. Yeah, I had a pretty rough game week, to be honest, but big week ahead. Got FA Cup fifth round tonight and tomorrow, and obviously that'll have big implications for blank game week 29. So I think as the week progresses, we'll start to get ship strategies in mind and things like that. So yeah, I've had a bad game week, but hopefully I've got enough to keep me busy this week and can improve things in game week 27.
Yeah, the way the content's going to go at Fantasy Football Scout, amongst other content creators as well, I suspect, will be there's sort of pre-Wednesday and post-Wednesday. So all the pre-Wednesday ones, everything will have a caveat. So when we do team reveals, we've got a team reveal video out a bit later. We've got the goals imminent table. Some of the names we'll mention. All the caveats will be they might blank in game week 29. They could have a game in game week 29 and so on. But from Wednesday, we'll have firm news about that. We'll know who is blanking, when is likely to have a double in game week 34, those things like that. So suddenly players we're not thinking of. So for example, a month ago, no one was looking at Bournemouth defenders. Now, this week and next week, you're going to see loads of content about the value of who's going to play with Lloyd Kelly out at Bournemouth. Most people don't even know who Lloyd Kelly is. And I thought he was a comedian, but apparently he's a footballer. No, I knew that really. Okay, so I've had a week off, which is good. So I'm all back and recharged. And just wanted to check everyone in the live chat who's joining us. We've got Dragon Lope, Monkey Kaya, John Jack, Matthew, Sketchbar, Azwini, Jimmy, Sakan, Andrew, Beardy, and many more. Can you just let us know that you can see and hear us? As per usual, we are broadcasting also via Twitter. And as a result, I can't actually see anything back. It says that we're live, so I'm going to just trust in that. But if you could just, one or two of you, just let us know you can see and hear us in the live chat. That would be absolutely great. Adam Smith. Loud and clear, says Dragon Low, and Adam Smith is just says question mark. So presumably they're talking about the Bournemouth defender, not the Institute. Okay, so we were off last week, but the goals imminent table was still there. It was still there at Fantasy Football Scout. There was just no one broadcasting it because I was off. But it was all there. It was all in the Fantasy Football Scout members area. You could have looked at it. So while I was away, it seems that everyone was absolutely mad about Wolves midfielders, and which we've been talking about a lot this season anyway. But everyone forgot about Jarrod Bowen. Well, let's have a look. Let's see if we got any smug points. Oh, well, I think we have. I think we've got plenty of smug points now, because the goals imminent table going into game week 26, what had Bowen on it? Had a number of names on it. I've taken Willian off because he didn't play, but not a big table, but a number of, and we got 3 players returning and a whopping hat trick from Bowen as well. So I was absolutely delighted with that. And obviously, if we've been broadcasting, everyone would have seen us and got Bowen in, and they'd all be happy, chappies, rather than looking at Huang in their teams and wondering where it all went wrong. Let's go down this list then. Calvert-Lewin blanked in game week 26. That's unsurprising. He hasn't scored since October. He is dead as a dodo to us, isn't he?
Yeah, not happening for him. I think it's game week 10 his last goal. So a long time. I don't think he's been playing that badly. It just hasn't been falling for him. And given what Everton have got coming up, fixture-wise, it's just not a player that is even on anybody's radar, I don't think. Maybe the defence at Everton, but not attack.
Okay, Fernandes at Manchester United got an assist, but they were without Højlunds up front, and that made them just a no-go. With Garnacho, I mean, I've got Garnacho in my team. I'm quite happy to play him most weeks, but as soon as I saw Højlund out, it's just like, back to the bench with you, son. Because they just can't. I don't know. They just don't have a plan B. If one player's out, that's it. But Manchester United as well. I guess once Højlund's back, they're back on our radar. But until then, can we go near them?
Probably not, because the whole attack shifted round. So it's not just Højlund coming out and there's a like-for-like replacement. We saw Rashford move up front. Garnacho, been doing so well on the right-hand side, was then on the left, and then Foden came in on the right. So the whole attack kind of switched up positions. Okay. And Fernandes, I think, has been really poor, not just against Fulham, but I think he was really poor against Luton the week before when Højlund was playing as well. So, yeah, I don't think there's no real reason to look at United at the moment unless we get that game week 29 fixture. And then suddenly people might start looking at them that little bit more. Now, what we need for that one is for Forest to win in the FA Cup against United, and then their game can go ahead against Sheffield United in 29, and obviously that's a really appealing fixture.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got Garnacho. I think the way it works out is that it's highly likely. Well, okay, if I think it's Luton could go through. Could play I mean could play in game week 29, or Manchester United, but I don't think both can. Am I right in that?
Yeah, so we've got the Luton and Forest game now. That will be a blank if Luton beat Man City, which obviously we don't think that'll happen, or if Forest beat Man United in the FA Cup. So yeah, you're exactly right, Joe. So we would expect one of those fixtures to go ahead, I think.
Because I mean that's why I was thinking about Barkley the other week, but I didn't go for Barkley in the end because I just thought I'd hedge my bets. One of Barkley and actually is going to play in 29. I mean the way I'm looking at it, we'll talk more on our team reveal, but if there are no upsets, I'm probably going to have to free hit because I've only got Areola and Watkins and they play each other. But if there are some upsets, or even if it's just Garnacho or Doughty, I've still only got 3 players, which is rubbish. But if the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, even they play Southampton, and they're going to be big changes. So arguably that could be quite a good matchup. If those players go in, then I'm fine. I can just spend a hit or two and get credible 9 or so out.
The Chelsea Leeds match feels big this week, doesn't it, in the FA Cup? Because if Leeds could pull off a shot, then suddenly a lot of people have got probably 3 Arsenal players, quite a few people own Cole Palmer. Suddenly then the free hit, people are probably thinking no points. So it's an absolutely massive week, and we kind of want 1 or 2 upsets. Whether or not that happens, I'm not sure, because even a second string Liverpool side, we saw what the kids could do at the weekend. They should be able to beat Southampton, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Down this list, Gordon, Newcastle. I mean, the Newcastle attack is not so much of a problem, I don't think. So Gordon's still a good option if you still got him. I mean, the fixtures are great. They've got Wolves at home, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, West Ham at home, Everton at home, Fulham. That's right up to game week 32. It's a great run of fixtures. But obviously the game week 29 game with Crystal Palace could be off. And also it's just their form is so atrocious, and their defence. I mean, they're getting torn apart by teams, home and away. I mean, Luton scored. Luton scored against them 4? I mean, this is not elite.
Lines.
They're not.
What I will say is, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of criticism of the Hwang move this week, but that wasn't just the Sheffield United fixture, which I think people who bought him in were probably thinking about him. It's Newcastle this week, and I do think that game might, the way Wolves are set up, that game might suit Neto and Hwang better on the counter-attack anyway. Newcastle probably the worst defence in the league this year. And then it's Fulham, so yes, I understand people saying, well, it was maybe a bit of a short-sighted move given that they probably won't play in 29, but it wasn't just that Sheffield United fixture. It was the Newcastle defence, which I imagine people were targeting as well.
Yeah.
So let's see how it plays out. But Newcastle, going back to Gordon, I think he's still a fine pick.
Yeah.
Isak was back. He looked a bit rusty at Arsenal, but Arsenal were just really good at the weekend, weren't they? I think Newcastle had 3 shots.
Yeah.
This isn't a way to gauge how good Gordon is an asset right now, playing away at Arsenal. And the fixtures are okay.
They are good. I mean, just going back to Hwang, I mean, I didn't get him in, but that's not because I'm really fabulous or anything. That's because I just didn't have. I wasn't in the market for a midfielder. I mean, I'm okay with my midfielders. I was okay with benching Palmer. It was a striker, so I got Solanke in for Darwin. But if I had Jota, I might have made that move.
Yeah, well, that was the move that I made. I wrote a piece on the site on for Friday, which was basically it's going to be Hwang or Bowen coming in, and those were the two choices. And I simply went for the cheaper option because I wanted to give myself a bit more flexibility this week. And potentially, we'll talk about it on the team reveal, but from going from De Bruyne to Salah, if Salah were to be fit, and that's my reason for doing it. Other people might be in that boat as well. So the move doesn't look that smart right now, but let's see how it plays out over the next 2 game weeks as well.
Okay. Just a reminder, those in the live chat as well, do press that like button. It really helps us out. And do subscribe if you're not already to keep update with our latest videos and podcasts. And check out membership offers at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Also, we're going to have a live Q&A at the end. So if you put your questions in at the end. So what we'll do is probably just around about when I put the assists imminent table for Gameweek 27 up, start thinking about questions and put them in as well. Just one question Andrew's put in the live chat, actually. It's just pointing out, it said, Joe, if we can't see and hear you, there's no point in you saying to comment on it. The reason I do that, so if I ask that question and no one responds, like no one says we can see and hear you, you're just all chatting amongst yourselves about, who you're going to get in, then I'm going to worry. But the fact is, if I ask that and at least 1 or 2 people say, yeah, we can see and hear you, then I'm fine. Okay, so that's why we do it. That's why we do it. Okay, moving down the list, Alvarez. Now, we're all stocked up a little bit on Man City because of the double, but I don't know I've got KDB, good when he plays, but he doesn't play. I've got Foden, I've got Haaland, so I'm happy with 2 out of 3 of mine. You've got Alvarez in yours, but
and De Bruyne,
and De Bruyne, and Haaland. Yeah. So, what are you going to do? Because is Alvarez? I mean, I suppose you'll keep him, but what do Alvarez owners do? This is another blank. Meanwhile, Foden's racking up another haul.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of locked myself into that City triple up quite early, and it's been really hurting not owning Foden for, the hat-trick against Brentford and then double digits at the weekend. This was the first time Alvarez has been benched all season in the league at the weekend. Yeah. And we started to get a few leaks that De Bruyne might be out. So immediately you kind of think, well, at least Alvarez is probably going to play in that role. And then he didn't play either. He's an easy transfer out for Solanke for me. It just depends when I do it, whether or not it's this week or it's next week ahead of the double. But I think he probably is a sell now. You might get, dependent on what happens with De Bruyne and his fitness, you might get a game out of him in the Manchester derby. If he plays that, he's a good option. But I'm going to make a call on it later on in the week once we've seen the FA Cup game as well and minutes and quotes from Pep, etc. So
yeah, I mean, I've got a similar issue with KDB. If we get more comments from Pep saying, we're going to still manage his minutes, he's not quite 100%, blah blah blah, I'm going to move him on because I've had enough. Even though he is big game Kev, but there's no point being big game Kev against Manchester United sitting on the bench for me. So I want big game Kev on the pitch.
No, and for City as well, you've got the Manchester derby, which is a good fixture, but then they've got Liverpool, then they're probably going to blank, then they've got Arsenal. So again, it's a case now of moving. You might want to keep them for this week, but then after that, I think you can start transitioning out. Except for Haaland, of course.
But if Pep Guardiola just says nothing about him and it's just like, looking forward to it, Kevin De Bruyne is looking forward to scoring a hat-trick or whatever in this, then obviously I'll keep, because Kevin De Bruyne against Manchester United, who are in a sorry state of affairs, I definitely want to keep. But yeah, as you said, the fixtures are terrible. I mean, they got Manchester United, which is good, but then they got Liverpool blank, then Arsenal. So that's as worse it gets. And so, he's on the chopping block for me. I can just about afford to get Salah in. So that's the team news I'm waiting for. But I might get Son in. I might just keep... I would like to keep Kevin De Bruyne because that would be galling to miss his 15-point haul against Manchester United. But nevertheless, Man City, issues for all teams, I think. Next up, we've got Murphy. He blanked at Newcastle. I don't think many people would go there, so we can sort of sketch over him. Pascal Gross, a player that is being jettisoned by many. He's always unfashionable, but that's what we go for on this show. We look for these sort of under the radar, unfashionable picks. And no surprise, Gross gets bonus points, gets a return. He's on corners, plays everywhere. He's brilliant. I mean, what a signing for Brighton. 2018, I think it was. It was our first year in the Premier League, I think 2018. And he's just been so consistent for all this time. And he's still good, still brilliant. I mean, I think if you've got Gross, just keep him because the next, for the next two. You'll probably say
you've got
why.
two good fixtures. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got Fulham away and then Nottingham Forest at home.
Yeah.
Then it gets poor. Man City and then Liverpool and then Brentford and Arsenal. So arguably, if you've got Pascal Gross, game week 29, when he'll probably blank, and if he doesn't blank, he plays City. So it's postman always rings twice with that week for Pascal Gross. So for the next two though, 27, 28, he's a keep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the great thing is with Gross is you get one return and you're probably looking at bonus too, a bit like Douglas Luiz at Villa that, you know, he was looking like he was going to blank at the weekend, wasn't he, until the final few moments. And then suddenly from 2 points, he's up to maximum bonus and an assist. So, loads of, you know, we've been saying throughout the year that he's a decent pick. And I think he looks like a really good option going to Fulham.
And finally in this list is the crowning glory, Bowen. So he was on the goals imminent table because despite West Ham being poor, Bowen was still racking up the underlying stats and he was still underperforming according to expected stats, which go into this table. And boy, did he return. But it's Paqueta back, really, wasn't it? So I think if we were broadcasting last week, if we'd have had the show, I suspect we'd have said Bowen's on the list. If we think Paqueta's back, he's one to get in. If we think Paqueta's absent, he might better avoid. I think that's
he makes them tick. Yeah, exactly. That was our kind of line throughout the week on Scout. I think that him coming. I mean, Bowen had been poor before that. Yes, he had been taking shots, but I think he had 6 blanks in a row. I think West Ham hadn't scored in their 3 matches prior to last night either. You know, hadn't even scored a goal. So. And Kudus had been back for some of that, but Paqueta just feels like that, the key, the playmaker, the one who's going to make him tick. So, you know, it was a bit of a gamble going for him given that, but Paqueta was rumoured to be back. We didn't know how fit he was going to be, so fair play to anybody that made the move. They've got a tough game at Everton at the weekend, but then they've got Burnley at home, and then they've got that 29 fixture as well. So,
pretty good.
You know, I think interest now Paqueta's back, I think interest is just going to continue rising over the next couple of weeks.
I mean, it's not the greatest fixture because your team Villa in 29, but nevertheless they have a fixture.
No, but it's at home. It's at home as well.
Yeah, it's at home. And then they play Newcastle. We've just been talking about their defence in tatters. Then they play Tottenham. They can't keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
And then they play Wolves. I mean, arguably, out of all of those, Wolves and Villa are the toughest. But Newcastle and Tottenham, they're pretty easy fixtures for an attacker at West Ham now.
Yeah.
So, Bowen, he'll obviously... I mean, if you score a hat-trick in FPL... you get transfers in. So he will be in a lot of new teams. I think he was in 1 in 10 teams where I was in the rankings. So his hat trick didn't really harm me. I think I dropped 1,000 places because of that or something like that. But it's, next week, if he scores a hat trick next week, I think that could be a little bit worse. Okay. So the pressure's on. Got Bowen on the list there. So let's have a look at the latest list. I'm pleased to say there's some few familiar names there, so I hope we're going to get some returns out of them. This is the latest goals imminent table going into game week 27. As usual, it's sorted by the last 4 matches. If you score more than 1 goal, you're off the table. But you've got to get the underlying stats. You've got to get shots in the box. You've got to get big chances, and you've got to please the expected goal delta people, which means whether you're under or overperforming. So, for example, top is Solanke. I've got him in last week for Man City. I didn't expect to get him anything there, but I just wanted to get him in because I couldn't see any other player I wanted to get rid of other than Darwin. Yeah, and I couldn't see any other players striker I wanted to get in apart from Solanke, so there we go. But I've got him in for Burnley. I've got him in for get this run of fixtures. Burnley away, that's coming up this weekend. Then he's got double Sheffield United and Luton at home. Wow. Wolves away, Everton at home, Crystal Palace at home, and then Luton again. Poor Luton. In game week 32. I mean, this is an amazing run. So Solanke's I mean, I don't know what his ownership is now, but it's surely it's got to be in the double game week. It's going to be absolutely huge. I mean, Weghorst was something like 160% owned last year. Burnley had not last year, the year before.
Yeah, I think he's going to be massively owned because I think that if you look at that Bournemouth attack, he's just the focal point. He's the talisman, isn't he? Yeah. There's no really other really appealing Bournemouth options to go for in that attack. Some people might think, I'm going to take a punt on Kluivert or Tavernier or something like that. But really, it's Solanke. He's going to be heavily captained. People who held on to the triple captainship are going to stick it probably on him in 28. Yeah. So, he's going to be a massive player. His ownership's just going to keep on going that way, and I think it's probably him, Haaland, and Watkins who will form the most people's front lines.
Yeah. That's I hope so because that's my front line: Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, and he's 7.1 million now. Gone up a couple of times, I think, in the last week. He's missed 3 big chances, only scored 1 goal, hence him being on this table. He's very much due a goal. He's had 4 big chances. Shots on target 4. He's had 11 shots over the last 4 matches he's played. 9 of those have been inside the box. So that's the kind of striker he is. And his expected goal data was nearly getting on for 2. So he scored 1, but he should have scored a couple, and so he shouldn't be on this table in a good way. Solanke, absolute number 1 top target if you don't own him. However, as a manager who's against 10 million other managers, please don't get him because his effective ownership is going to be over 200% in the double game week, and he's just going to be a player against us, I think.
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it? That you captain him and you wanted him to blank, but if you don't own him at all, it's going to hurt a hell of a lot more, isn't it? So.
Yeah, if I can get if his effective ownership can be anywhere under 200%, I'll take that.
Take it, yeah.
But meanwhile, I've got him in for Burnley. So anyway, Calvert-Lewin we mentioned. He's next. Apparently, according to expected goal delta gurus, he should have got at least a goal from his 10 shots, 6 inside the box, and the 2 big chances he's had, which he both missed. He hasn't scored since October. I'm just going to sketch over him. There's no way we're going to convince anyone to get Calvert-Lewin in, nor should we. Fernandes and Rashford coincidentally are side by side next, so neither of them have scored in the last 4 matches, but they arguably should have got almost a goal each. Fernandes is 8.2, Rashford 8.4. Fernandes has had a big chance, missed it. He's had 6 shots on target, 6 inside the box and 12 shots in total. Rashford with 10 shots, 5. I mean, I'm quite happy with Garnacho when Højlund's back. I think anyone with Højlund, if he was fit, we should be happy. Obviously, they're probably going to jettison him now because he's out for a week or 2. But these 2 lads, Fernandes and Rashford, these are the when you do your in the season roundup, you've got a flop section. They're going to be the poster boys of this, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks back, pre-Højlund injury, it looked like they were, I wouldn't say become factors again, but they were starting to look a bit more appealing, the whole United attack. But then take out Højlund out of that, and then Rashford obviously then gets shifted to centre forward. I don't think he had much presence there at the weekend. So, I don't know. I mean, the only way in which we're going to start looking at United players is if they play in 29. If not, I mean, they've got the Manchester derby this weekend, toughest game you'll play. And then after that, it's Everton at home. I think Everton across the season have been very good defensively under Dyche. So it's that Sheffield United game week 29 fixture. If that's on, then maybe Garnacho. Yeah. Maybe Rashford might pick up a few more suitors.
I think Garnacho's got to be the one. I think.
Because if he blanks and he costs 5 million, it's very different to an £8.5 million asset blanking, isn't it? So it's not eating up into your budget quite as much.
No. If he's in your structure, I mean, I'll say this with Garnacho experience over the last few weeks that you will miss hauls. I missed his 16-pointer. Who's on my bench, and that's what you get with him. He's really handy first sub if you need. He's very annoying first sub when he doesn't come on, but he's good to own, and you can play him most times. And I've got a few assists out of him. I've got a few returns, which is all you can hope for 5 million. But he really should be sort of 7 million. I think it was beginning of the season.
Well, he will be next year, won't he?
Yeah, it'll be 6.5, 7, something like that. Okay, Neto's next. Now, I think if I cast my mind back last week, if I was a Jota owner last week, and I think I would have got Neto in, because you and me have been talking about Neto for so long, and it came as a surprise to everyone that he was the top assister after 6 weeks or so, but not us, because he had those underlying stats on these tables. So I think I would have gone for Neto, maybe. He blanked as well last week, but I just prefer him. I know he's not the goal scorer, he's the assister, but
well, he's a better player.
Yeah,
isn't
he's
he?
just a better player.
But it was an absolute landslide with the amount of people who went for Hwang, myself included, over Neto. I went with it because of Hwang has a bit more goal threat. Neto is traditionally more about creativity, about assists, the potential of penalties for Hwang as well, which it might have been Serbia who stepped up. We don't know, but there was that small chance that it might have been Hwang. So that's why I went with it. But Neto's a great player. Yeah, he's been on these tables a lot this year. Away at Newcastle, this feels like a Neto type of game on the counter to attack. They might stick him on the right hand side potentially if it's Dan Burn, left back maybe, because he is flexible. Neto, he's on the left a lot of the time, but they sometimes switch him mid game as well. Might be Livramento at left back.
That's good, isn't
it might be. They'll probably put Livramento there again, I'd imagine, but you never know. And so I just think sometimes he's playing through the middle, Neto. So I think this is a really good fixture for the Wolves attackers this weekend. So they underwhelmed against Sheffield United. Sheffield United sat deep on the counter attack. They frustrated them. Played very well, I thought.
Yeah.
But there's still Newcastle and Fulham to come. So let's see how it looks after that.
Yeah, here's his stats. So he should have got 3/4 of a goal, so nearly a goal. He scored none over the last 4 matches. He's had a big chance, missed it. 4 shots on target, 11 shots in total, 8 inside the box, and 4 of those on target. So not bad stats for a guy who's basically an assister. So pretty good. Next name, we mentioned him already, is Foden. I was really surprised he was on this list because he seems to have like non-stop been scoring while I've had him for the last few weeks, but I don't think he has. I think basically because he had the double game week, over his last 4 matches, he has actually only scored 1 goal, because I think the hat-trick was 1 match just outside of this cycle. So he's got 1 goal in his last 4 matches, but you can look at it this way: he's got 4 goals in his last 5 matches. So what was it? I can't remember whether it was a hat trick but at least a couple of goals for that haul he got. Anyway,
it was a hat trick at Brentford, but you're absolutely right. I just had a look, and he'd blanked 3 matches in a row, I think, or hadn't scored 3 matches in a row before that as well, before the weekend one, and then he got the goal then. So. Yeah, I mean, Foden hadn't hurt me that much. He hurt me at the Brentford game, went through a period of not really doing a great deal. And then obviously, because he got the maximum bonus at the weekend, that was in a low scoring week. It was for me anyway, it was really difficult. But he looked better in a central role, I thought. He always does, doesn't he?
Yeah. So he's had 17 shots. So bearing in mind, for example, Slanky's had 11 in his last 4 matches. Foden's had 17. Wow. And 9 of those inside the box, 6 on target. He has scored 1 goal. He's had a couple of big chances, obviously missed 1 of them. 8.1. I think for those that wanted to... people will be looking at sort of KDB to Son, for example, but... I think if they don't have Foden and they still want to sort of keep their hand in with Man City's attack, get a bit of extra beyond Haaland, I don't think you can go. Foden is just sometimes. I know when Luke does the predictions, and I think he pretty much has Foden pretty much nailed on all the time now, because he knows the way, or is very good at guessing how Pep Guardiola thinks. And when Pep Guardiola loves Phil Foden, he really loves him. He cannot exist without him playing in a team. When he's on the naughty step, then that's really annoying, and he doesn't like playing him. But currently, Phil Foden is just got to be. Yeah, don't overcomplicate. It's just, if you haven't got him, get him in. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, you're exactly right, Joe. I think the quotes after the game at Bournemouth, I think Pep called him world class. And then you compare that to the quotes from earlier on in the season where he was a little bit lukewarm with his
Yeah.
praise, even after good performances. You can tell he's just consistently putting in performances. He's playing well wherever he is, whether that's
Yeah.
wide left or right or through the middle. He's just adapting really well. I think he's trusted more now from Pep. I'm personally not going to go there just because I'm not sure if now is the right time for me to be looking at City assets because the blank, I think, is going to dictate a lot of what we do and the fixtures in and around it. But I can guarantee that once we get past that, I think complementing Haaland with Foden for the run-in is going to make a lot of
Yeah.
sense for most managers. And let's face it, loads of people are doing that already.
Yeah, I mean those going into game week 29 without a free hit, for example, and they've got Foden, they've got Haaland, and they might be using transfers. So with City's fixtures turning 28, they've got Liverpool, and then they've got Arsenal in 30. People might be thinking of getting rid of Foden, but I mean, he's going to stay in my team while he's no longer not on the naughty step for something.
Yeah, if you're free hitting in 29, then Foden, because you forget he's still only 8.1 million.
Yeah.
And if he's playing every week in that City attack, a team which are going for the title, yeah, I think that keeping him, you're definitely going to keep him for the Manchester derby.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then I've got no problem with playing Foden away at Liverpool or against Arsenal due to the strength of City attack. So yeah, if you're on a free hit, it's very different to those who aren't because the ones who aren't might have to sell him.
Yeah. That's sort of why I hope there's not any cup sets because I'd like the decision taken out of my hands where it's just like right, I've only got Areola and Watkins. I've got a free hit.
You've got to, yeah.
So, but yeah, it'll be a bit annoying if I've got like 5 or 6. They're all quite good. Okay, Willian's next. He didn't play in the last game where Fulham beat Manchester United and they beat them well. I know he's a favourite of Andy Martin. Those who follow him on X likes Willian, and for good reason because he's got some good stats. 9 shots, 4 inside the box. Should have got almost a goal. No goals in the last 4. He's had a big chance, missed it. 4 shots on target. It's only 5.3. Fulham's fixtures are pretty good as well. Brighton at home. I might be wrong, but as a Brighton fan, I seem to think that Fulham always give Brighton a horrible time.
Yeah.
Especially at their place. And I don't think Brighton have had a lot of joy playing Fulham. I mean, I might be completely wrong, but I just feel, it might be one of those sort of Mandela effect kind of things where I just think that because of based on, I don't know, one match.
That rings a bit of a bell with me, and maybe it was because we were loaded up last year. There was a point where everybody had Matoma or McAllister or Marsh, and that rings a bell that Fulham maybe kind of disappointed all of the Brighton
I definitely remember. I think there was a Graham Potter game where they were just frustrated Brighton. Very good, very well done to them. But anyway, they've got Brighton good fixtures. Brighton, Wolves away. Possibly. Oh no, they definitely got Tottenham. They've definitely got Tottenham in 29. That elevates them. Tottenham can't keep clean sheet. Then they got Sheffield United. These are really good fixtures. Why isn't anyone? Andy Mine's right. Why isn't everyone getting Willian in? And then they've got Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest, and Newcastle. That's an outstanding run of fixtures for an attacker.
Yeah, and they've got as well as Willian, who's appealing when he's fit. They've got the 4.4 million striker Muniz, who's looking really good. Who's started a few games in a row. Bit of a worry there with Broja, who's gone on loan, that he might tweet into his minutes a bit. But yeah, because they've got that guaranteed fixture in 29 and some good fixtures after that. It depends on when you wild card. If you're going to say, look, I'm going to dead end into 29 and then I'm going to wild card after, you're probably not looking at Fulham assets just now with Brighton and Wolves. But if you're not, if you're looking slightly longer term and you're looking at a wild card in 34 or something, 35, for example, something like that, then Fulham players become more appealing, I think.
Well, I'm certainly keen on Willian if I free hit in 29. To be honest, if I don't free hit, I mean, because then it's like
anyway.
You step into Luton at home immediately in game week 30. Okay. Ramsey at Villa is next. He's crept onto this table. Good player, but obviously injuries curtailed his time. 9 shots, 5 inside the box, no big chances. Should have got at least half a goal according to the expected stats. I mean, you're the perfect person. You're a Villa fan. I mean, will he play? Is he any good?
Yeah.
Is he worth considering?
Yes, not sure.
Okay.
He is, so he's building up his fitness. You mentioned it then, Joe. He's been really suffered a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
He's come back to fitness, then he's had another setback. He's fit again now. He's playing on that left-hand side of the midfield with Alex Moreno behind him, which was key last year. It was key to our success towards the end of last year when we went on that run. So that left side duo of Moreno and Ramsey was so effective. So we've got a lot of injuries right now, but that's one of the positives with the system of that left side.
Yeah.
I like Ramsey. It's just, is he better than Douglas Luiz and Leon Bailey currently? Probably not. But he's still a nice option. He still will get attacking returns. But I don't, Luiz has got that, it's said it all season. It's set pieces. It's penalties. It's good for bonus. Those are all the positives. Yeah. The open play threat, it isn't that much. He did get 2 goals from open play at the weekend. That isn't going to happen every week due to the nature of his role. But he's still, especially in home games, he is given opportunities to get into the box. And then you've got Bailey, who's obviously becoming much more consistent. Again, it's the home games for Bailey, really. Emery came out after the game on Saturday and said, we still need to work on Bailey away from home. There are still issues with his defensive work. But in home games, players like him and Luiz look absolutely great.
Okay, that's potentially unfortunate because in Game Week 29... one of the games going ahead is Villa West Ham, but that's at West Ham. So the Bailey, Luiz, the players that you really want, they perhaps are less effective.
Oh, they're not as effective. I mean, every single one of Douglas Luiz's goals this year has come at Villa Park, all 9 of them. There we go then. That doesn't mean to say you could get a penalty in an away match and you're laughing, and it's that record then doesn't count for anything, and that's what he's got. Bailey can still do well away from home. I'm not saying that, but he isn't trusted quite as much in those away at the moment. But Emery has said they're working with him to improve him in those areas. You've still got the Tottenham home game. Massive fixture for us in 28. So that's obviously good. I'd happily play Luiz or Bailey in those
and
ones.
Wolves at home in game 30. So even if game 29 those players let us down, it could be good. But Ramsey, a good differential to keep an eye on. Definitely it's going to be a differential for those reasons you mentioned, that people look at other players. As well. We've had some confirmation from our resident Fulham expert, Colm, in the live chat. The championship back in 2017 was the last time Brighton won at Fulham. So I was right in thinking that. I did seem to think that every time Brighton go to Fulham, they just get the better of them. So, I mean, we got different managers, different players, obviously, over that time. But... yeah, if you're into that kind of information, that doesn't bode well for Pascal Gross, perhaps.
Well, Estupiñán was last on my bench anyway, and he's kind of even more confirmed in that spot now. Obviously, there's other issues going on there apart from the Fulham fixture with Estupiñán, but he's But Gross, I think you're still going to play him, aren't you? I think if you own him, but maybe that fixture isn't quite as appealing as what we initially thought.
I mean, I've got a Estupiñán in my team. I'm not playing. I mean, he's. No. I want to remove him for a Bournemouth defender. I think. Especially if Bournemouth playing 29, but for the double. Yeah. And Senesai's, I've got my arm, but Senesai's on 8 yellows. I know you've written about this at Fantasy Football Scout. So if he gets booked in the next 2 games, which, knowing all our luck, that was exactly what's going to happen, then he misses that second game in 29. Sorry, in 28, double game at 28, which would be massively annoying, because then I'm stuck with a Bournemouth defender who for a double.
So you probably want to hold off on that move in 27 and then make a call on that in 28, I guess, if possible.
And also, I mentioned about Lloyd Kelly earlier. If he's out, then I can't remember his name now. It begins with K. That replaces him.
Kakaz.
Yeah, he replaces him, and he could be a really good option. So if Kelly's definitely out for both of those Game Week 28 games, then I might go for him. But as I said, this is not for now. That's what I'm looking at Game Week 28. So, Anyway, so that's a Stupinan. We'll probably talk about that more in our team reveal video, what we're going to do with a Stupinan. Okay, and the last on this is Maddison. So there's partly the forgotten man. People are looking at Richarlison. Son's back now. I haven't seen any training pictures of Spurs. I haven't seen any inside information. I don't know how they're going to be set up. Something is not right with Spurs at the moment. They're getting beaten. They're conceding too much. Something needs to change. Perhaps Son as number 9. I don't know. Perhaps Maddison have a slightly different role. I don't know. I mean, will Udogie be back? Will Porro be back? It's lots up in the air for Spurs.
Yeah, I think that's been part of the problem. I think the fullbacks are so key in that system, aren't they? With the roles they have and the movement they have into central areas, they've really missed Porro and Udogie. I think I saw a training picture circulating yesterday of Porro training in some form. I want to get that verified. I'm sure I spotted something. So if he's back and Udogie's back, I think then that makes Spurs attackers more appealing as well. I don't mind a punt on Maddison, given that those fixtures that they've got with Palace at home this weekend, then Villa, then Fulham, then Luton. I think that Son's probably the most appealing player, but if you can't reach him and you haven't got the funds for him, bearing in mind he costs 9.6 or whatever he does, then Maddison significantly cheaper at 7.9. I don't dislike that. No. I guess then you just have to weigh up if you prefer Maddison or Richarlison in that.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. So if Richarlison's still the number 9, then I am interested. But if he's not and he's out on the wing again, I'm less interested. But we don't know. So that's information is key. We'll perhaps know a little bit more with team news later in the week. But basically, Gameweek 27's for me, I mean, not just with ahead of that with the FA Cup games, it's just all these things with these teams, with Bournemouth, with Spurs, lots of these teams. I need to see them a little bit more. I need to see what's happening and I need some of the answers to these questions, and we haven't got them at the moment. Let's have a look at the assists imminent table. Who is due an assist? I'm going to sketch over the top name. It's Eriksen, actually, at Manchester United. Without Højlund, they're a bit of a no-go. Manchester United's fixtures as well, bit mixed. They've got City next, then Everton. Sheffield United, these are good. Then they've got Brentford away, Chelsea away, then Liverpool. So they've got a little good spell, and then it peters out again. So Eriksen, I don't think people are going to go there. But it's worth noting he's taken 10 corners his last 4 matches he's played, created 10 chances, and had 5 successful crosses. So not too shabby whenever he plays. I mean, I haven't really been, because I've been not really looking. I'm presuming some of these are recent with these stats.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been a sub in the last few matches, but they turned him at the weekend. I think I'm right in saying he came on at half time and he created quite a few chances at the weekend. But he would need to get back into that team for him to become an FPL option again. And again, you're probably not going to go for Eriksen over somebody like Garnacho, who's cheaper.
Bernardo Silva is next at Man City. Like many of the players, is prone to rotation. When he plays, he's amazing. When he's not, in the very, very attacking role. But nevertheless, he's created 10 chances, had 5 corners and 3 successful crosses in the last 4 matches. He has appeared on the pitch. No goals, no assists. I think people are probably going to be stepping off Man City soon, aren't they?
Yeah, I think Foden, like you said earlier, I think he's probably the one that you would be tempted to keep with Haaland. But I think any of the others are probably... You don't have to sell him this week. Bernardo's probably going to play the Manchester derby. Would it surprise anybody if Man City scored 3, 4, 5 goals? Probably not. No. So I think he's fine to keep. But then you might want to have a bit of a plan on that, depending on what your game week 29 chip strategy is.
League Cup hero Endo for Liverpool is there, 5.4. Once again, he's going to be a real forgotten man. He's created 8 chances, had a successful cross. If he's playing, I mean, he's not a bad differential, but I just think there's obviously better players in that price range as well. But it's a name there. When he gets his assist, we can get some smug points. So I'll have a picture of him like we did with Bowen, cheering. There's plenty of those after the League Cup final. I'll go for the next name next, Foden on the list. So this is bad news as a non-owner. So this is why you should get him in. He's on the goals imminent table. He's on the assists imminent table. He scored a hat-trick within living memory. He has got created 9 chances, taken 5 corners, 6 successful crosses. Pep seems to love him at the moment. He's got Manchester United next, who he scored a hat-trick against last season, I think.
Yeah, because I owned him for that one. Yeah. At the Etihad, wasn't it the 6-3? And I think Haaland got 23 points, didn't he?
Could own him again for this next hat-trick against Man City.
I wish I did.
But he's a good option. He's pretty mildly. That's such an understatement. He's quite good. But yeah, that I mean, as I said, this is one of those examples of don't mess around, don't fanny around with Hwang, and just go for a good player from a good team. That's Foden.
Yeah. I mean, I was just kind of I owned Foden a lot last year, and I got him for his his big kind of hauls, but it feels different this year. He feels more trusted. He feels more integral in that team. So yeah, I guess owners will happily keep him this week and then maybe reanalyze ahead of the blank. But yeah, very very good option for game week 27.
My man Doughty at Luton. I've obviously got posters of him everywhere, all over my wall. A massive fanboy of him. I've had him on my team for a while. But as soon as everyone else got him in, he started blanking. But nevertheless, he's got Aston Villa up next. Then he's got Crystal Palace and Bournemouth away in a double game week in 28. So he's very much, that's why I've highlighted him, very much a player people should consider getting in. Because whilst he may have not got many points in the last couple of matches or so, he has created 13 chances within his last 4 matches. He's taken 19 corners. No goals, just that 1 assist, 15 successful crosses, which is that's 3 times as much as Eriksen. It's double Foden. I mean, this is good. I mean, yeah, I'm happy to keep him. I'm going to play him this week, even though he's against Villa.
Well, I was going to say that might not be a terrible decision. Like, they're really leaky, Luton. I'm fairly certain we'll score, but we've got problems at the back at the moment.
Oh, good.
With injuries.
Oh dear, but
I know what you meant. Yeah, we've obviously got. I mean, Powell came off at half time against Forest. We hope it was precautionary, but we need to know a bit more about that. We've also got Konza out. We've got Carlos out. We've got Kamara out. We've got Mings out for the season. So what we might find, if Powell doesn't make it for the weekend, and if he's maybe saved. Which I think could happen because we've got Ajax next week, then we've got Tottenham. Yeah. So if there's any doubt around Powell, it's probably safer to rest him this week. Yeah. If he is, I think our right side will be Matty Cash and Callum Chambers. Callum Chambers has not played much football for us this year. He's 3.8 million in FPL. Yeah. And so if that's our defence on that right side of Cash and Chambers, and Doughty's attacking that side, it's not a terrible shout. Wouldn't surprise me if he got an assist at the weekend.
Well, I mean, in my case, I either play him, Anderson against Spurs, or Estupiñán, who's only going to play for 5 minutes anyway.
Oh, I would play Doughty. Though.
Yeah. It's clear. Just the guy there with the outstanding stats against a defence that can be got at. Lots of. I almost wish I hadn't said that comment about Hwang now, because there's lots of comments in the chat. Anyway, I think those listening and those watching back can leave that to their imagination. Tavernier, Bournemouth, 5.4. I think we've said before on here, if he plays, he's probably he's the best one. But there's so much rotation in those roles. He's had 14 corners, created 7 chances and 5 successful crosses. Should have got pretty much an assist, but hasn't got an assist over his last 4 matches. I mean, yeah, if I was getting a Bournemouth midfielder, it would be him. But I cannot say that he's going to play both of those games because there's so many attacking options in midfield for Bournemouth.
They rotate a lot in those wide positions. You've got Kluivert, you've got Sinisterra, you've got Semenyo who's back now. And I think Tavernier, I think he is the creator. That this is why he's on this table. I think others have more goal threat than him. I think that Semenyo has more goal threat. I think that Kluivert does. And I need to look into that a bit more. If they play in 29, then a Bournemouth midfielder complementing Solanke with one makes a lot more sense. If they don't, and you're not going to free hit, then I don't think many people will look at him. Yeah. I mean, it's a double game week, and the double game week is that good for Bournemouth. It doesn't get any better, does it? Sheffield United and Luton at home, two of the worst defences in the league. So
Yeah.
I think people might be tempted to kind of because if Solanke isn't going to, if you're not triple captain in Solanke, you're not going to gain that much from him, are you?
No.
And so looking at another way to get points from Bournemouth, be it a defender, like you said, Senesi or Kakez or Zabani, and then getting or a midfielder, that might be a route that people look at. It's just, you might get in. We don't know if they're going to get 2 starts in the double.
No.
That's the frustrating thing. No.
Okay. Just before we go to the last 4 on this list, those in the live chat, do put your questions in. I can see some questions already. I'll try and go back to them, but do put your questions in the live chat. We'll try and answer them in the last sort of 10 minutes or so. Rodri's next. People won't go there, but he's the player that no one will ever get. But he'll keep popping up with assists and goals. He's created 9 chances, not bad. Pretty much nailed on. It's good for the Sky game, not good for FPL. But it's still, a good differential. Eze's next. Now Eze could be returning for Crystal Palace. New manager. Went well last time. Admittedly, they're playing against a 10-man worst team. Maybe one of the worst ever teams the Premier League's ever seen, but certainly one of the worst. So, but Eze, one to keep an eye on for team news, isn't he? Because good stats, 11 chances created, 14 corners, 3 goals.
I think he was quite close for the weekend, and they didn't risk it. They've obviously got Oliver Glasner, who's gone in. He's playing this 3-4-2-1 formation, and I think he's quite exciting. I did a scout report on him last week, and I like what he did at Frankfurt and Wolfsburg before that. Okay. We were flagging up the wing back all week. Munoz saying that he could be a good pick, really attacking.
It was,
But obviously Eze coming back into that team and in one of those floating roles behind the striker could be really, really good. Better option than Adam Wharton below on this list. He's more in the kind of the double pivot there with Lerma at the weekend. Okay. So Eze is the one you want to be looking at. But I think he could be a factor in our season once we get the blank out the way.
Reminder, Crystal Palace's fixtures, they've got Tottenham away next, then they've got Luton at home, Newcastle potentially in Gameweek 29 if that's on, then they've got Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth before City in 32, so not a bad little run of fixtures before they get to City. Wharton, you mentioned, he is on this list as well. Worth mentioning, he's in that role of he probably won't get you returns, he's too far back in the midfield, but he has taken 10 corners, so that's assist potential there, and he's created 8 chances, 7 successful crosses, so pretty good stats. I hope we get some smug points for his return against Spurs. And last name on this is Martinelli. Was in your team, I think, briefly this season. I'm sure he was.
Long time ago. Yeah,
created
and then I got Odegaard.
For Arsenal. They got Sheffield United away next, great. Brentford at home, 28. But then their match with Chelsea in 29 might be off. Then they got City, but then they got Luton in 31 and Brighton in 32. So a little rough patch and then gets better. But they're looking really good at the moment. I guess if you're going for a 3, though, from Arsenal, it's going to be Saka, Gabriel and Saliba. Probably, maybe Odegaard if you're going for a midfielder. But Martinelli's just not going to get a look in, is he?
I don't think so. His minutes don't seem quite as secure as Odegaard. I think he came off early at the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you've obviously got Trossard, who's playing really well, who can come in there onto that left-hand side role. I think he got 90 the week before that, but before that, it's very much kind of like 70 minutes most week, it seems to be. So I think I would put Odegaard ahead of him. But like you say, I'd actually put the double defence over the 2 midfielders and the 2 and 1 defender, because I just think they look so good at the back at the moment. Arsenal, they were unlucky to concede at the weekend, and best defence in the division. Okay,
just when we wrap up, Tom and myself will try and answer as many questions as we can in the live chat. So I'll just go down the list. FPL Copycats asked everyone in the live chat, but we'll muscle in on that as well. When do you all plan on wildcarding? So for me, a lot depends on when I use the free hit. So if I don't free hit in 29, then I'll be building up for Game Week 29, and then I'll have lots of players I want to remove. So I'll be probably wanting to wildcard at some point 30, 31, 32 time. And that might influence how I look at double game week 34 and double game week 37. But if I do wildcard then, which I hope if I do free hit in 29, I'll be wildcarding much later, I think, because I won't have a free hit to deal with 34. So I might decide to wildcard and sort of use a wildcard to bench boost some point in 34, 37. And I might even be able to leave it until sort of 35, 36 time.
Yeah. I think that's what if you do choose to free hit, my thinking is similar to yours, Joe. If you are forced into a free hit, or if you want to do it in 29, that gives you a little bit longer for your wild card, which could be useful with the bench boost. I think for people who are dead ending into 29 and then coming out of it with a wild card in 30, the only concern with that, I do like it because you're playing the wild card earlier, you get more weeks out of it. But the only concern is that setting yourself up for a bench boost either in 34, 37, ideally you want to be doing the wild card as close as you can to that bench boost. And I think that is the one thing that the free hit could do in 29. It might give you a little bit longer with your current setup. I'm not ruling out a wild card in the next couple of game weeks either. It just depends how the FA Cup results fall.
Yeah, I mean, what I would ideally like is to be able to wild cards in 35 or 36 and bench boost in 37, because double game week 37 looks like it's going to be a much bigger double game week, and it could potentially involve the big boys, the likes of City, and Liverpool.
I think because you're having a good season as well, Joe, that probably makes more sense than for me, who's not having a great season. I kind of feel like I might need to play my wild card before then to try and get something out of this season.
Yes.
So for me, I'm looking at that thinking, is 4 game weeks really enough for me personally, and for other people who are maybe chasing? I'm often fluctuating up and down at the moment. A couple of weeks ago, I was about 100 and something K, and I've gone down to 300K after this week. So I know it's still very close, but I'm tempted to play it at the moment earlier rather than later, I think.
Yeah, I think
but that won't be the same for everybody.
Yeah, it won't be. Yeah. So, I mean, no matter where you are in the rankings, actually, just if you are happy with your team. So I look at my team, I'm fairly happy with it. And I really don't want to ruin it by getting loads of West Ham players in. But I would love to free hit in 29. It would just make my life easier. But then obviously if there's cup sets, then Arsenal, not City, they're very unlikely. If Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool go into that, then that's fine. There's no need to free hit then. And you can just play them. But yeah, it is tough, and we will know more by the end of the week. So as I said at the beginning of the show, you're going to get your pre-Wednesday content, like us giving ideas of what to do, how to plan, what to think about it. And then from Wednesday, you will know that, definitely, I'm okay to get a Bournemouth defender because they play in 29, that kind of thing. We'll know that. There we go. Heinz says a Stupinan time to eat some more pasta. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you ate too much pasta at that dinner, why you can't get in the team. Let's looking down the list here. Matt Hanley believes that Richarlison probably stays central. Yeah, that could be the way.
I think you're probably right.
Okay. There was a question about KDB here. There's this one here. Would you buy Son or Bowen this week? So not necessarily to do with KDB, but yeah, if you could get either. Which would you get, Son or Bowen?
I'd get Son, I think.
Yeah.
I think that Bowen, now Paqueta's back, looks more appealing, but I think Everton's a really tough place for them to go this weekend. Then you've got Burnley, which is good, but then you've got Villa, and that's going to be a tough game. Yeah. So I mean, it depends on your chip strategy, of course, but I think I would take Son over. I would take Son over Bowen. I think.
Yes, I do. I mean, they both play
penalties as well.
They both definitely play in 29. So the FA Cup games are immaterial to this. It's just who you want to play in 29, who you want before in those matches before it as well. Tottenham
and after as well.
And
depends, sorry, Joe. It depends. If you're not going to wildcard till later, then Tottenham have Luton, West Ham, Forest coming out of the blank. Yeah. So that's obviously really appealing.
Yeah. I guess an ideal midfield would have Salah, Son, Foden, Saka. So Salah, Son, Saka, 3 S's. Foden, and you're going to have to go for a cheap one like Garnacho. I think something like that would be good. If I'm missing out, I'm missing out a really big player there, am I?
So what are you talking about? The perfect midfield just to own over the
just to own
for the blank?
Yeah.
So I think you want a Spurs player, don't you? I think you want Saka. You're probably looking at Salah if he's fit,
Three.
and then you probably either want Bowen or a Villa midfielder, and then maybe somebody cheap like
Brilliant.
Palmer or something
That's
like
perfect.
that. But then, something.
That's what I'll probably try and aim for. I've got KDB, so KDB could be Salah. And then Son I'll have to worry about another time. But I could get Son in for KDB. So the really good answer to this very roundabout way is the way me and Tom are talking about, Son would be a really good player to have long term, whatever the situation. We're not thinking exactly the same about Bowen. Might get you the odd hat trick, but I think Son is going to. But luckily we get to see what shape Tottenham are in against Crystal Palace. So that'd be a good indication of them. Kaya has benching problems this week. Who do I bench out of KDB, Salah, Palmer, Bowen, Richarlison, Watkins, Solanke, and Haaland? What a good.
I think that probably decision might be made for you because I think there's a few fitness issues there, isn't there? We don't know where Salah's at the moment.
No.
De Bruyne, we're not going to get a leak beforehand, but we might get an inkling. For instance, if De Bruyne doesn't feature again at Luton, let's see what you don't know, do you? It's very difficult.
It's reading in
we might
Pep
know more
comments.
by the deadline.
Yeah. Any hints from Pep Guardiola of managing minutes or he's still not 100%, anything like that, KDB's going. It'd probably go for me as well. I'll probably just get Sonic, just get it done. But or Salah. But if Salah's for it, I think I prefer Salah to KDB.
Yeah, so Solanke, you don't really want to be benching him against Burnley.
No.
Watkins, you don't want to bench him against Luton.
Don't
Palmer one of the others?
Yeah, Palmer's away to Brentford. Who just shipped 4 goals.
Suddenly looks more appealing.
Yeah, don't bench Palmer.
And then who did he else have? He had Salah, he had
Richarlison and Bowen.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I'd probably
I think you're kind of hoping for an injury, aren't you?
I would say it's possible, as you said, I think the decision might be made for Kaya there. But if all of those are fit, all 100%, all favourable manager comments, all of that, it's going to have to be between Bowen and Richarlison, I think. But
I think it would. Yeah, I think I would bench Bowen if everybody was fit because I think. Yeah, but I agree with you. It would be probably between him and Richarlison, and maybe then you start looking at team news for Spurs, and you start seeing, well, is Porro fit? Is Udogie fit? How strong are they going to be in that match? But I do think this is a tough game for Bowen at Everton.
Lennox asks, would you go Tony to Solanke this week, or wait until 28 and go Haaland to Solanke? I mean, I think Solanke's good to get in now, away to Burnley. I think that's a great fixture. And Tony's at home to Chelsea, which is actually quite good for his point of view. I think but
that just kind of depends on your chip strategy, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're free hitting in 29, then you can sell Tony. That's fine. But if you're not going to take out Tony if you're not free hitting in 29, are you?
I think going without Haaland for any stretch of time, if Haaland is fit, you need to be a certain type of manager, and that is not me. So any option that says remove Haaland for anyone, even with poor fixtures for City, they've got Liverpool in 28, blank in 29, and then Arsenal. Even with those fixtures there, that's not me. But a little while ago, I interviewed FPL Chai, who is still hovering around the top 10, 20, 30 somewhere. And he quite famously it went without Haaland for a long, long stretch of time, pretty much most of the season. So, he's where he is, and he didn't have Haaland at that time. So it is entirely possible to do well without Haaland, but you need to have the mentality to do that. And if I went without Haaland, that would disrupt how I am as a manager, and so I'd be in a different world. I'd be like in a foreign land, and I don't understand the language, I don't understand the culture. I wouldn't know what to do. I don't mind taken by the hand to prepare for that.
I don't mind selling Haaland in 28, when they go to Anfield and then they blank, or they probably blank after. But I think after that, I think in 30, Arsenal, that's at home.
Yeah.
Villa's at home. I would want him back in 30. I think I wouldn't feel, I would feel okay without him in 28, 29, providing they blank in that one. But after that, I think you're going to want him in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Aston Villa in 31, Crystal Palace away in 32. I mean, these are all right fixtures. These are good fixtures there. There was a question about... it was more of a statement, really. Oh, yeah, Ben asked... just more of a statement, really, from him. So wildcarding 34 means you only get 5 weeks... or 5 weeks to benefit from it. It's too late. Yeah, it is too late, but it depends. I mean, there's a great book by David Wardle called "Wasting a Wild Card," and that phrase is there for a reason. You can easily wild card before that, and just get the wrong players in, and they will get injured. But I think for game week, I don't think a wild card late is necessarily a problem. I have done it around that time before. If you can blend it with a bench boost, which you could do, in game week 35, 36, and you could blend it with a bench boost at 37, it could be good. And it just depends what your team's like now. Like me and Tom were saying earlier, if you've got a team you're fairly okay with, and you just don't want to remove Haaland and Salah and all these good players, then wildcard, using it early could be counterproductive. Yeah, it just depends. Okay. I'm just finding a question that isn't rude involving Huang. Okay. FPL Madridista. I'm the only one thinking of actually bringing in KDB against a trashy United side. As I said, I mean, we both got him, and if he looks like he's going to play, then yeah, you don't want to miss out on that. Michael Scott, is Huang a sell to Son? I wouldn't. I must have a bit of money in the bank, but
I would like to give Huang a bit more time. I think he's disappointed against Sheffield United, but he did go down injured in the warm up. I mean, there was. He didn't look shut. He didn't look. He ran the channels quite well in the first half. Then he was pretty poor in the second half, I thought. Gary O'Neill spoke out of the match and said that injury, he was pain-free, but he felt that it did impact his preparations a bit. He said he was getting, he's quite hurt in the warm-up, I think. I'm not willing to just ditch him right now. I'm going to give him Newcastle. I'm going to give him Fulham. I don't like there's a reason why a lot of people bought him in, and I know it's frustrating when he blanks, but
yeah,
I don't bring in a player just for one game week most of the time. I would at least like to give him 3 fixtures to see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
as appealing as Son is.
Yeah, I mean, Huang was a letdown last week, but give him a few more days and be patient, and he could perform next time.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Okay, please, another question. I don't want to leave it with that. Triple City makes sense, says Guy. He's got Foden, KDB, and Haaland. Oh, I've got that as well. Or change KDB to Son. I mean, once again, it's just how we think what Pep's going to say about him, and it's trying to get. It's not second guessing, but it's finding a hint that he might be benched.
Yeah, I think if KDB starts that game and gets. Probably 70 minutes. I think he can still be a good player in that game. It's not like he's coming off the bench. If he's playing and he's playing the majority of the game, he's been a big game player in the past, and he will probably be again.
Okay.
So I probably would keep him, but we're gonna have to have a look at some press conferences beforehand and look at the FA Cup and then gauge it later on in the week.
Okay. George asked, bench Bowen or Bruno? Manchester United, just checking who they're playing. Man City.
Bruno.
Yeah, he's on penalties, but yeah, I think you have to there. Lennox. Oh no, hang on. Sushant. Bench Huang or Neto versus Newcastle. So he's probably. I'm presuming he's got Salah, Foden, Haaland. Lots of players he doesn't want to bench. I don't know which of those. That's tough. Maybe.
Yeah, I see the way that game is. Neto being a real threat on the counter, but I also think that Sarabia will not be on the pitch for the whole of that match, which then probably means Hwang will be on penalties for maybe half an hour in that game. I'd be tempted to say Hwang, I think, but playing as the central striker in that system, but it's really close, that one.
That's really tough. I mean, I think the tough thing I find with that is I wouldn't want to live in a world where I own both of them. So if I own both of them, I wonder why I'm owning both of them. And
well, I did see a few wild cards last week, and I think they went all in on Wolves and maybe got Aït-Nouri or Dawson as well.
Yeah.
And they really kind of went for that Sheffield United home fixture, which I think it's kind of understandable because Sheffield United have been absolutely terrible recently, well, all season, haven't they? But you probably don't want double Wolves midfield for too much longer.
No. And just final question, it's to you, Tom. It's Aston Villa related there. Just a good time for my dogs to go mental. Question from Tom: Should we, if we own him, get rid of Moreno now with Luca Dean and Europe in consideration?
Well, I think that Moreno.
While you're talking, I'm going to let my dog out.
Go for it. I think that the system that we're playing now, and it is changed since the injury to Kamara, it actually suits Alex Moreno a lot better than Luca Dean, because we kind of go to this three in the back and Cash kind of tucks in alongside Lenglet, and I think it will be Power when he's fit. And so that means we're more playing with Bailey really high on one side and then more of a wing back on the left-hand side. And I think Alex Moreno is better in that role. I think his relationship with Ramsey is really good down that left-hand side. So he's got loads going for him. But you're right, we have got the Ajax fixtures as well. And he isn't going to probably play all of those fixtures. It's just whether he's preferred in the league. And I think the league will still be the priority for Villa. I think while there's Champions League there. So I think if Moreno's the best one in that system, I think he probably will favour him in the league games. I don't think he's a sell because we've got that fixture in 29. And I think he'll play. I think he'll play at the weekend when we go to Luton, Alex Moreno, I think. And then see what happens in that Ajax game. If Luca Dean comes in for that one, then you're going to be more confident of Alex Moreno playing Tottenham and then probably in 29 too. I don't think he's a sell, and I do think he's in pole position because this system is better for Moreno than Dean. It's not what we were playing earlier on in the year.
Okay, and a couple more questions just come in, so we'll just quickly answer them. Kumi asks, would you free hit in 28 if you currently have no doublers? No, I wouldn't, because I think realistically, I mean, I've got Solanke and Alfie Doughty. I'd be quite happy to do that. I mean,
I think Solanke's the main. If you get Solanke, and then I think maybe one player from Fulham. Sorry from Luton. I've got Ross Barkley. And I'm kind of happy with that. I don't feel like I need. If they play in 29, I might add one more. But I don't think that we need to go
we don't need to
too crazy with this double. No, I don't think so.
And Christopher asks, do we reckon that Bradley starts?
Yeah, I think so.
I would say I would say more likely to, but not 100%, but more likely to. And starts.
There has been there has been a Klopp press conference while we've been on air. So let's see what was said on that. Okay,
have a look at Fantasy Football Scout on our tweets or X's as they're now called. And Christopher also asked, start a Stupinan or Aït-Nouri. That's easy. Just don't start a Stupinan because he probably won't play and you're going to get a 1 point out of him. Aït-Nouri is playing Newcastle's defence. So you could get an assist there. So that's what I'll do. Okay, I think that's it. We'll wrap up there. We're going to do a team reveal video. We'll get that out later today. Do look at that. Do have a look at all those cup games. Keep looking at the content that's kind of coming out. Fantasy Football Scout, pre-cup games, after them, and we'll have a lot more about strategy and players to get in after that. But I do think all this content before is useful because you need to sort of get your plans together for the different permutations. And obviously, the Goals Imminent table said get Jarrod Bowen last week, so not to be missed. Do remember to press that like button, especially if you like Jarrod Bowen. Do remember to subscribe. Do check out Fantasy Football Scout for all the latest members offers. Thanks a lot for your time. Good luck with your game week, Tom. Good luck, everyone else.
Cheers, Joe.